Alright guys, Brian back here with VetteSource on another adventure today as we continue our teardown of the Formula 350 tune port injection system. If you've been following along, I've done quite a few videos on this so far. I've broken it up into a few different series of videos. There's a playlist up there at the top so you can see some of these and how far I've gotten down into this. After our last video, we discovered I actually am in fact going to have to go ahead, just to recap, and tear our our heads off, because somebody at some point in time in this car used, rather than doing the appropriate repair, they used head gasket sealer to pour it into the tank. So they attempted to get by with a chemical solution to a mechanical problem. And so now we're going to go ahead and fix this, because there's no way I'm putting this very nice, fine, yellow gold Formula 350 back together with a sloppy job. So today, primarily what I'm going to focus on is just this exhaust manifold. I'm not going to do both of them on camera just because it gets a little repetitive, and I'm not looking to slam you guys with 45 minutes of useless information, but at least on this driver's side I can show you how this comes apart. Now what we're going to be looking at here today is removal of typically 8 bolts, okay, that hold an exhaust manifold in place on a small block Chevy, okay? And these smog tubes, these are your AIR pipes. These actually inject your fresh air back into your exhaust stream to reduce emissions output. So these we're not going to worry about right now. So we're not going to worry about this. We're going to remove this with the manifold. So what you're looking at here is we've got 1 bolt here, 1 bolt there, another one tucked underneath here, which honestly it's kind of hard to visualize. I'm just going to get the camera down here further. There's 1 bolt right there where my finger is. That's 3. There's another one back here, 4, and 2 more way back in the valley back there. And then of course there's going to be 2 bolts on the bottom where this comes out to the main exhaust pipe underneath that oxygen sensor. You might be able to see that stud right there. So of course, dealing with exhaust manifolds, you want to really soak these down good with some PBT blaster before you get into these, because these are heat soaked constantly over the cycle, the life cycle of the engine. In this case, this car, these have been heat cycled for 32 years and never being removed. So we're going to go pretty slow with this. Also, I've got a bracket I've got to take off of the power steering pump in the back right here. I can see the bolt right there for that. So I'm going to be removing that brace there so I can get to this stud, because that's an extension. There's actually, in fact, 2 brackets go right there. So what I'm going to do is get these kind of broken loose a little bit and worked that way, and then I'll guide you through the process as I get all 8 of these bolts off, and we'll get this manifold out of the way. I've also got to release this hose going up here. So let me get my tools set up and I'll be right back, and we'll crack this exhaust manifold off of here so you guys can see how it comes off. Oh, one other thing that I do find interesting, I'm going to point out before I even get started, that you don't see very often is, if you can see right here, let's see if I can make this work, if I can show you guys. Okay, there is actually still what we call French locks installed on this motor. Now, French locks are a little U-shaped lock. That's that tab I'm bending right there, that goes underneath the pipe right there where my finger's tracing, and it goes over to the bolt, and then I've spread the locks out already, but this motor even still has the French locks installed on it. Now those are done so the bolts won't back out. It's like a locking tab, so the bolts won't come out of there and loosen up and cause an exhaust leak with time. Now you can see they did their job, and very rarely are they actually still installed. So this is part of the reason why I'm going to go slowly and get this done right, so we can save all our hardware here to put this car back together again correctly. So I'm going to get set up real quick, just kind of loosen these up, and then show you as I go through and get these bolts out and show you how this all comes out. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back and set up with my tabs on this forward French lock bent back so I can show you where we're at. You can kind of visualize a little bit better right here with this camera angle. So if you see right there, that's that tab that bends down underneath or across the head of the bolt, and what it does, it keeps the bolts from coming loose during the life. It's kind of a cheap way to safety wire bolts. In aircrafts, we use safety wire on the heads of bolts to keep it from going places, and on cars, we don't usually get into safety wiring and everything because it's a little more complex, time consuming, and they're just trying to get things down the road. Versus if you're flying, you don't want your bolts coming out while you're flying because you might have some catastrophic things going on. So real quick, I'm set up. I'm gonna go ahead and take out these first two bolts. This first one's a stud. I wasn't able to get that first one off on camera, that stud, but it went down to the power steering pump. So that way now I can get my power steering pump and everything out of the way, because I'm just gonna take all this off. Let me see if I can get this in here. And get that on there for you so you can see what I'm doing. And this is the first of our 6 bolts to come out. And of course, again, I did pre-loosen these because these are not that easy to get out of here. So there's number 1 out and loose. I should be able to get that in my hand now. And it's the initial bind that they're in that's going to be challenging to get out. And we pull that out, and there's our washer right behind there. Funny, these have washers on them. Okay. I don't want to lose that washer. Let's see if I can get to that. Because I really want to keep this car as factory as possible without any deviations. So, you're looking at the head of that bolt. You can see how that's kind of got some rust. Not rust, but it's seized up on that forward part there. So we'll put this one to the side. And then we'll work on bolt number 2. And I'll be able to pull out this French lock so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's see if I got that loose enough yet. Nope, not quite yet. Okay, so I'll get that off of there as I drop my tool. I'll get that in place right there. And I did bend those tabs back on that French lock already, so it will be out of the way for us. And I've already loosened that a little bit. So there's our number 2 bolt. And again, it doesn't seem like a whole lot of bolts to remove the exhaust manifold setup, but because of their location and the way they're hidden, they become a little more challenging. So we're going to pull that, and our French lock is going to come with it. So you'll be able to see as I drop my tools. Yet again, there's another one of our washers. And that's what a French lock looks like, just like that. So it's actually kind of unusual. I'm kind of happy to see those, to tell you the truth, guys, because that means that this car really wasn't boogered with that much. It was just driven. Other than the top end and them doing that, you can see what they do is they take that tab and bend that over and then bend over the other tab, and what that does, it locks that bolt into place. So it's kind of an ingenious thing that they did. And the reason they tie that together so that if one bolt starts to try to back off on it, it'll actually maneuver that bracket to where it's facing resistance against the head of the other bolt. It's kind of a cheap way, or actually kind of a clever way to safety wire without having a safety wire. So in safety wire situations on an aircraft, what you're going to do is you will, there's a hole drilled through the head of the bolt, and you'll run the wire through that head, and then a negative safety running it around there to the other side, so that if one bolt head starts to loosen, it'll tighten the other head, and then the bolts won't go anywhere. So it's a rather cool design from the machining perspective. So here's my brackets here. There's that one bracket that we pulled off. So I'm going to get set up. Actually, I think I may be able to do number 3 while you're here with me. Let me see if I can or not. I don't know if I got this one loose yet. I need to get set up, I think, because I had to take number 4 out because it was just in a bad spot. And I wasn't going to be able to get that on camera. Plus, there was a bracket on there, a sheet metal bracket. I still haven't figured out what it goes to. Let's see if I can get this one here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. That one's loose now. There's number 3, and number 4's out. So what we're gonna have to do is number 5 and number 6, but I'm gonna have to grab those off the car, or I'm sorry, not off the car, underneath the car, because it's probably gonna be better for me to get to those from there, because the brake booster is definitely in my way right now. So luckily I haven't been dropping my tools very far. So there's number 4. As we pull that one out. Come on, don't make a liar out of me. And see, that's what I was saying. These get heat soaked inside of here, and even though they may feel loose, you're gonna get some drag and some resistance on these. So you have to use the tools to kind of persuade these to come out of here. Now I could go ahead and try to put headers in here next time I put this together, but I'm gonna leave this thing stock. And I actually did think more about it. I'm not gonna put the aluminum cylinder heads on here, simply because the cylinder heads on the L98 for the Corvette, the EGR system is running a different way than this, and I really don't want to get down too difficult into this. I just want to put it back together and drive and enjoy. And the aluminum heads are not going to give me so much of a boost in horsepower that I really need to do that. So that one may be loose. I'm going to go ahead and finish that one up off camera, guys, get the car jacked up, and I'll show you what getting number 5 and number 6 bolt are out, and then we'll see about 7 and 8 on the exhaust manifold at the base where the exhaust pipes come in, see what we got. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, back again to finish up our job about an hour and a half later. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to show you guys on camera past bolt number 4 here on this exhaust manifold, because as often is the case, Mr. French lock, where are you? The one in the back decided it did not want to tab, didn't want to bend for me. And then of course we had this lovely ignition shielding as well that was on here that I had to get off. So and frankly, when I got back there in the dungeon, as I call it, back in that corner, I just didn't have enough space to be able to one-hand it and get everything in. So 5 and 6 bolts were back there in that corner. Of course, those are that one there. There's number 5. Number 6 was right here. So, you know, just standard exhaust manifold heat-soaked bolts, but I got those off camera. So what you can see now is I had this loose. I'm gonna go straight up with it and out. Get this out of the way as I almost mess up my oxygen sensor there. Let me go ahead and get that off of there. That one's loose, and exhaust manifold's out. So I can show you here a little bit better. You'll be able to visualize. You know, there's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one was a bear, man. It was tucked in this corner, and that French lock just didn't want to come out, didn't want to come loose. I really couldn't get a good grab on it. So I'm actually going to leave this all together now. I'm not going to take the smog pipes out. I had one stud that came out when I pulled it, but I'll go ahead and put new studs in there more than likely back in before I get it back in there again. Clean it up a little bit. So now you can see we've actually got access to our cylinder head, which, oh my God, those are filthy, man. Those spark plugs, they've been in there forever. Yeah, okay. So I'd be willing to bet those haven't even ever been changed. So anyway, so much for preventive maintenance on this poor old car. So you see there's our 3-inch exhaust flange right there. Cooler lines going to our oil cooler. This has a heavy-duty cooling system on it because it was sold new in Texas. We're going to take this off. I'll pull this out of the way tomorrow, probably. I may put that on camera, on film for you guys so you can see how to get that bracket out of the way. And then what I'm going to do next is just start from here. We're going to loosen our rocker arm bolts all the way across. We're going to take head bolts out. There's 17 per side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crisscross. And then of course we got all the head bolts down here on the bottom that we need to get out of there. So I will work on that next time. I'll have that other exhaust pulled off on the other side. I'm just going to do that one off camera so you guys don't have to suffer through it. And we'll get down to the short block and see what our pistons are looking like underneath here. Hopefully they're in good shape. I really don't feel like having to pull the whole motor out of the car, but if I've got to, I've got to. That's just the way it goes. So I'll also, if you've been watching, try to give you an update on putting our suspension together on our interesting red 72 big block Corvette we picked up the other day. So I'll be up to date with that. If you hadn't seen that, there's a link up at the top of the video for that one as well. So thanks again, guys. Good Friday night to everybody. Hope you have a safe weekend, and I'll see you guys early next week. Talk to you then. Thanks.